Good morning everyone. Sorry I'm late since may class pa kanina. So, mag-jump tayo sa corporation today since may nag-request daw na corporation muna since may exam ata kayo bukas. So, chapter 15, corporation, share capital, retain earnings, and financial reporting of chapter 15. So, overview of shareholders' equity. The shareholders' equity is the residual and interest of the asset of the corporation after deducting all its liabilities. So, merong dalawang components ang shareholders' equity. Una is share capital. Share capital reflects the amount of resources received by a corporation as a result of investment by shareholders, donations, or other share capital transactions. Ibig sabihin may issuance of shares or yung pag may nag-invest na shareholders. O kaya pag may nagdo-donate daw. And next is the retained earnings, amount of capital accumulated and retained through the profitable operations of the business. So dito, alam niyo yung income summary before natin? Dito siya, kinu-close sa retained earnings. Pag profit, increase sa retained earnings, and pag loss naman, is decrease sa retained earnings. So this is the example of the shareholders' equity of a corporation. So meron tayong common stock, paid-in capital from treasury stock, plus retained earnings. Ito yung sa paid-in capital, ito rin yung share capital. Tapos itong retained earnings and treasury stock. Sa share capital, meron tayong mga items pa under doon. So, naka-line item tong share capital, retained earnings, and treasury stock. Malalaman natin yung ibig sabihin. Yung mga accounts na to under further explanation. So next, share capital. Share capital, it is the shares to be subscribed and paid in are secured to be paid by the shareholders, either in money, property, or services, at the time of organization of the corporation or afterward, and upon which is conducted its operations. So legal capital. Capital contributed by shareholders from sale of shares of stock. So, meron tayong authorized shares and issued shares. So, yung capital contributed by shareholders from sales of shares is called legal capital. Yung legal capital, hindi yan dapat nawawala sa shareholders' equity. So, also, the minimum amount of paid-in capital to be made in the corporation for protection of creditors. So, pag may excess of part, example, legal capital, nag-issue ka ng shares ng 2,000. Ang par niya is 20. So, tapos, pinili yun ng 30. So, 2,000 times 20 is 40,000. So, yung 40,000 na yun is yung legal capital. Yung legal capital is have par value shares or no par value shares. Yung par value shares, yun yung minimum amount na pwede mong i-issue yung shares ng corporation. Pag no par value shares naman, pwede yun sa stated value ay sa value na binigay mismo ng corporation para mabili yung shares mo. So, sabi ko nga kanina, diba? Pag may 20 par, tapos 2,000 na shares na in-issue, tapos na-sold siya ng 30. Yung excess doon na 30 minus 20 is 10. 10,000 times, 10 pesos par times 20 is yun yung share premium natin. So, this is the example. Foodwares Co. is authorized to issue of 5,000 shares with a par value of 50 per share. Suppose that 1,000 shares were sold at 70 per share. So, cash is 70 times 1,000 is 70,000. And credit is to ordinary share, 50 times 1,000, 50,000. Ang share premium, 20,000. So, yung ordinary share dyan is yung legal capital natin. Yung share premium naman, yun na yung excess ng par. So, two basic types of shares. Ordinary shares and preference shares. So, ordinary share, these shares represents the basic ownership class of the corporation. When only one class of share is issued, it must be ordinary share. They are the entity's residual entity. So mostly sa mga corporations, ordinary shares lang yung meron sila. Pero somehow sa ibang corporations, dalawa yung shares nila, which is the ordinary shares and preference shares. Pero pag isa lang daw yung kailangan yung shares ng isang corporation is dapat ordinary shares yon. So preference shares give its owner a certain advantage over ordinary shareholders, either as to dividends or as to assets. So yung dalawang preference shares is to dividends and as to assets. Hindi pwedeng dalawa yan. So it's either lang na to dividends or as to assets. Yung dividends, binibigay yan pag somehow pinagbotohan ng board of directors. Tapos yung as to assets naman, nangyayari yan pag nagkaroon ng liquidation ng corporation. Dito sa ordinary shares, meron silang voting rights. Dito naman sa preference shares, wala. Kaya, binigyan sila ng parang yung una sila dun sa dividends or as to assets. It's either of the two. So, terms related to share capital. Authorized share capital. Maximum number of shares multiplied by the par value. Any increase or decrease requires prior approval of the SEC and formal amendment of the Articles of Incorporation. So, authorized share capital, nasa Articles of Incorporation yan, no? Sa Corporation Code of the Philippines. So, yun lang yung pwedeng maximum number of shares na pwedeng issue mo. Example, pag may 100,000 authorized shares ka, yung 100,000 authorized shares na yun lang yung dapat na i-issue mo. Hindi pwedeng tataas siya ng 110,000. And also, if may increase mo yun or i-decrease daw, dapat may approval ng SEC. And also, i-amend mo or babaguhin mo yung Articles of Incorporation. So, issued share capital. Shares that have been sold and paid in full, credited to ordinary or preference shares, debited only when retired, redeemed, or canceled. So, ito yung ginawa natin kanina yung sa example, pag nag-issue ka ng share at na-sold yun. And pag nagbayad na sila in full. Kasi, pag hindi pa nagbayad sa full na yun, may ibig sabihin doon, which is the subscribed share capital. It is the portion of authorized share capital that has been subscribed but not yet fully paid. Ito yung somehow may ginagawa yung corporation na subscription base. Ito yung pwede mo siyang hulugan pag nag-subscribe ka ng share. Outstanding share capital, issued share which are in the hands of the shareholders. So, yung issued, di ba may issued share capital tayo? Yung outstanding share capital, wait lang, saglit. So, yun ulit, sorry. Outstanding share capital is somehow parehas siya sa issued share capital except lang kapag merong treasury shares. Yung treasury shares kasi yun yung pinibili ng shareholders, ng mga shareholders. Parang binili nila yung sarili nilang share. Okay. ito naman yung treasury stock, issued shares acquired by the corporation. So, yung outstanding share capital, issued share, sabi ko nga, nagbabago lang yan kapag meron siyang treasury shares. So, kapag walang treasury shares, parehas lang yung outstanding share capital plus issued share capital and subscribed share capital. Let's go to problem solving. So, share issuance of shares for cash. So, una, with par value. So, unang scenario is share capital at par. So, Fruit Basket ko is authorized to issue 100,000 shares with a par value of 30 pesos per share. The Diversified Corporation issued on cash basis 2,000 shares at par. So, nag-issue daw sila ng 2,000 at par. So, cash is 2,000 times 30, which is the par of the share. Okay, nakikita ba yung Excel? Ayun. Is 60,000. So, parehas lang siya. Pag above par naman, ito naman yung magiging entry niya. Cash is equals to 2,000 times 50 yung share nung sold na siya. Tapos dito sa credit ordinary shares, yung par niya, tapos ilalagay natin sa share premium yung excess ng par. So, dito naman sa without par value. So, no par share capital. Fruit Basket ko has two classes of shares, preference shares and no par ordinary shares. 2,000 shares were issued for 75,000. So, debit cash is 75,000 and ordinary shares 75,000. Dito naman sa next, with stated value na siya. Di ba sabi ko kanina, pag sa no par value, pwedeng yung corporation mismo yung magsasabi kung magkano yung shares na na-issue o kaya may stated value. So, sa stated value, sabi dun sa Corporation Code of the Philippines, hindi pwedeng bababa ng 5 pesos yung stated value. So, meron tayong stated value of 15. And
Hindi nakikita yung screen. Ay, yung Excel.
okay na?
Ayan, okay na sa akin.
Okay. Ayan. Sorry. Doon ako nag-stop dun sa PowerPoint.
Oo, doon.
Okay. So, dito naman tayo sa share issuance for cash. So, with par value. So, Fruit Basket Corporation is authorized to issue 100,000 shares with a par value of 30 per share. The Diversified Corporation issued on cash basis 2,000 shares at par. So, multiply lang natin tong issued share dito sa par value share. So, 2,000 times 30 pesos per share is 60,000. Debit to cash and credit to ordinary shares. Is ordinary share. Sabi ko nga, kung wala namang sinabi is, ibig sabihin, isa lang yung share nila, which is dapat ordinary shares. So, next is suppose that the 2,000 shares were sold at 50 per share. So, above par siya. So, ang yan natin is cash, 2,000 times 50, yung amount nung na-sold na yung share, which is 100,000 to that. Tapos, credited sa ordinary shares na 60,000, which is par. Tapos, yung excess naman is to share premium, which is 40,000. Ito naman tayo sa without par value. So, no par share capital. Fruitbasket Corporation has two classes of shares, preference shares and no par ordinary shares. 2,000 shares were issued for 75,000. So, cash is 75,000 and ordinary shares is 75,000. Since wala siyang par naman, ito na 75,000 yung sinabi ng corporation na halaga ng 2,000 shares. No par share capital with stated value. So, sabi ko nga kanina, pag walang par, either corporation magsabi ng halaga ng shares na binili mo or meron siyang stated value. And also, additional information, sabi sa Corporation Code of the Philippines, ang stated value ay hindi dapat bababa ng 5 pesos. So, meron tayong ditong stated value of 15 and nag-inicio siya ng 20 per share. So, meron tayong dalawang method. Pwede mo siyang i-entry ng debit to cash ordinary shares ng buo mismo dun sa pagbili ng 20 ng ordinary shares mo. So, 40,000. Dito naman sa second, pwede mo yung sa stated value and sa tapos may excess ng stated value. So, either of the two is pwede. 40,000. This is 30,000. And share premium yung excess ng 5 is 10,000. So, meron tayo ditong subscription of shares. Yung sinasabi ko kanina na pwedeng hulugan yung inisyo na share mo. Meron tayo ditong subscription contract na sinasabi. Meaning, is a legally binding contract which provides for the number of shares subscribed, a subscription price, the terms of payment, and other conditions of the transaction. So, ito yung mga nakalagay, yung necessary informations regarding that subscription. So, meron tayo ditong illustration. Hikiko is Quality Care Center. Assume that 5,000 shares of 20 par value ordinary shares of corporation were sold on subscription at 23 per share on September 1, 2021 to Rin Lopez. Subscription installments of 46,000 and 69,000 will be due on September 16 and 30 respectively. So, meron tayo, ang yan natin is, debit natin is subscription receivable. So, this like the, somehow the asset of the company. So, 115. Ito yung tapos dito naman, subscribe ordinary share, which is yung par niya, which is 20. 5,000 times 20 is 100,000 and yung excess is 15,000. So, sa September 16, assume na natin na nagbayad siya ng nung due ng installment, which is 46,000. Same siya sa September 30, which is 96,000. So, dito, i-credit natin yung subscription receivable since nabayaran naman na niya yung parang inutang ni Rin Lopez dun sa corporation nung inisyu siya nung September 1. So, dito naman pag i-entry na natin yung ordinary shares, at par lang siya. Hindi siya inaano dun sa subscription price natin. Somehow, there are instances when a subscriber fails to settle the subscription in full on the date specified in the contract or in the call made by the board of directors. So, dito, pwedeng sa date specified in the contract. Yung tipong, kunyari, dun sa example natin kanina, September 30, hindi niya pa nabayaran. O kaya, pag sinabi niya ng board of directors na hindi na mababayaran yon, may instances na baka hindi na mabayaran yung subscription na inavail nung isang investor. In such cases, the share became delinquent shares. The usual remedy is to dispose this in a public auction. The person who can take the offer price in exchange for the smallest number of shares is referred as the highest bidder. Yung offer price is, of course, much more higher than the previous price of the subscribed ordinary share kasi meron na siyang mga accrued interest or mga fees na binayaran nung sinusubscribe pa lang yung share niya. So, somehow, parang kailangan yun mabawi ng corporation. So, may example tayo dito. Assuming the same facts as the side except that the subscriber failed to settle part of his subscription in the amount of 92,000. So, meron tayong subscription na 115. Diba? Dito. Pero, yung 92,000 daw, hindi daw nabayaran. So, after complying with the legal procedures pertaining to delinquency sale, a public auction was held at October 3. The offer price is 98,000, including 2,000 accrued interest and 4,000 expenses of sale. Maybe bidders are willing to pay the offer price. So, Haro Velasco take the offer price for 4,300 shares. UK Castro for 4,500 shares and Kyo Salvador for 4,700 shares. So, yung highest bidder natin dito is si Haro Velasco. Bakit? Kasi siya yung kayang magbigay sa offer, i-exchange niya yung share dun, exchange niya yung pera niya na 98,000 sa pinakamaliit na share. So, siya yung highest bidder natin. So, example dito, parehas dito sa naunang entry natin. Second, yung binayaran nung first installment, kunwari, ni Rin Lopez before. Tapos ito naman yung mga necessary na babayaran, which is the accrued interest and yung expenses ng sale. So, dito sa mga entry dito, so parehas lang siya, except dito sa October 3, which is, idedebit mo yung mga necessary sales into the receivable from highest bidder interest revenues, receivable from highest bidder cash. So, yung 3,000 pertains to accrued interest and 4,000 refers to the expenses of sale. So, pag sa auction kasi, di ba, binabayaran na agad yun. So, meron na siyang fully paid na siya. So, dito, meron na tayong cash, which is the 98,000. So, since nabayaran naman na siya, meron na siya ordinary shares noong October 3, which is the auction date. 100,000. Yun. So, merong instances din na walang bidder. Nagkaroon ng auction pero walang bidder. Walang gustong bumili ng share. So, in these cases, the corporation may bid for the shares and the total amount due shall be credited as paid in full in the books of the corporation. This share shall be considered as treasury shares. All other entries will be the same. So, hanggang dito, sa September 1 hanggang October 3, dun sa pagbayad ng mga necessary expense of sale is parehas lang. Except dito sa part na to, dito yung last two entries. So, parehas lang yung yan natin except dito sa cash na debit. Instead, since yung corporation yung bumili ng sarili niyang share, i-debit natin is treasury stock. So, ito, wala na to. Kasi hindi naman siya napunta sa ordinary shares, napunta siya sa treasury stock, which is kabawasan sa outstanding capital ng corporation. So, nabanggit natin yung treasury stock. So, i-clarify ko lang, stock and share are just the same. Pwede mo siyang gamiting treasury stock or pwede rin siyang treasury shares. So, treasury stock, shares of stock which have been issued and fully paid for but subsequently acquired by issuing corporation either by purchase, redemption, donation, or through other lawful means. So, meron tayong tatlong reason kung bakit binibili ng corporation yung sarili ng share. So, first is to support employee stock compensation plans. Second is to improve the stock market price by decreasing the supply of shares. And three, to avoid takeover by an outside party. Ito yung madalas na, yung number 3, yung madalas na reason kung bakit pinibili ng corporation yung sarili niyang shares. Kasi gusto nilang i-monopolize yung mismong corporation. So, paragraph 33 of IAS number 32 states that if an entity acquires its own equity instruments, this shall be deducted from equity. No gain or loss shall be recognized on purchase, sale, issue, or cancellation of an entity's own instrument. So, of course, di ba? Pag mayroong gain or loss, bakit ka pa bibili ng parehas lang naman yun dun sa shareholders equity. So, no sense siya, di ba? So, first, purchase of treasury stock. SAO Corporation is a world-class business organization. The operations have been successful. To consolidate control over the enterprise and thus avoid a corporate takeover by outsiders, the board of directors decides to minimize outstanding shares by purchasing 1,000 shares with a par value of 800 for 850 pesos. So yan. It is computed by 1,000 times 850 yung value ng pagbili ng share. So, meron tayo dito sa free issuance of treasury share. Oh, wait. Dito sa purchase of treasury stock, pwedeng par value siya or above par. Hindi pwedeng below par value. Kasi sabi nga kanina, yun yung minimum na pwedeng bilhin yung isang share. So, meron tayong free issue of treasury share. Pwede siyang at cost, above cost, or below cost. So, dito tayo sa at cost. So, parehas lang siya dun sa 850,000. Since at cost lang naman siya, babaliktad mo lang yung entry. Dito naman sa above cost, assume that it is reissued at 900. So, for 850, naging 900 siya. So, meron tayong 900,000 na cash, treasury share na 850, and yung 50 pesos na above the issue cost no time na nag-purchase tayo. So, next is below cost naman. So, nagkaroon tayo ng less sa retained earnings na.
Good morning po ate, wala pong sound po.
Ayan. So, huwag muna natin tong pansinin tong reissuance of treasury share. Dito na tayo sa pansinin lang natin yung purchase tapos retirement. So, dito sa with gain on retirement, assume that SA Corporation purchased the treasury share for 700 pesos. So, yung dito, meron tayong 1,000 share na binili. So, nag-retire na daw siya on 700 pesos. So, naging ordinary shares na siya. So, 800,000 yung par value nung share natin. Tapos, itong treasury stock na 1,000 times 700. Tapos, share premium na 100,000. So, dito naman tayo sa loss on retirement. Assume that 5,000 shares have been issued at 825 per share prior to the purchased treasury shares. As Seiko purchased 1,000 for 900 per share. These were not reissued and were ultimately retired. So, ordinary shares natin ulit at par value, yung 800. Tapos, share premium natin, which is the 25,000. So, nakuha natin itong 25,000. Ito yung limit niya. Yung issue cost na 825 per share dun sa prior purchase. Tapos minus natin siya dun sa par value. Hanggang dyan yung limit lang dun sa pag-credit sa premium, sa share premium. Tapos yung excess is i-debit na siya sa retained earnings. So, hindi mo siya pwedeng i-debit ng buo dun sa share premium natin. So, meron tayong example dito ng pag-compute ng iba't ibang kinds ng related to sa share capital. So, the accounts below appeared in the December 31, 2021 trial balance of the Light Forest Corporation. So, meron tayo ditong shareholders' equity. So, yung total authorized ordinary shares is, since peso yung nakalagay dyan, alalamin natin yung mismong buong amount ng authorized shares natin, which is 20,000 times 15 yung par value. And unissued ordinary shares, which is yung 20,000 minus 18,000 na share issue, which is 2,000 na, times the par value. And dito sa issued ordinary shares, na 270,000. Ayan mo. Ito yun mismo. Tapos, ordinary shares subscribed. Nandyan na din. Tapos, yung total shareholders equity is nakuha natin dito sa side na to. So, dito, ipa-plus natin yung ordinary shares, share premium, tas ordinary share. Pero, i-less natin yung subscription receivable since kabawasan yan sa equity natin. Since hindi pa talaga siya nabayaran. So, ibabawas natin siya. So, meron tayong share capital na 375,000 plus yung retained earnings na given. Nagkaroon tayo ng total na 575,000 minus the treasury stock. Since kabawasan yan sa mismong shareholders equity kasi hindi naman siya hawak ng corporation. Hawak siya ng isang shareholder natin. So, ang total shareholders equity is 550,000 pesos. So, shares issued is given na din, which is 18,000. Pati yung treasury na 1,000 shares. Dito naman sa numbers of shares subscribed, since wala naman siyang sinabing amount ng pag-subscribe, i-divide natin siya sa par, which is 15. And yung outstanding shares na 17,000. So, meron tayo ditong summary of the effects on asset, liabilities, and equity. So, mapapansin mo, dito sa mga transactions na to, walang effect ng liabilities. Since napansin din natin sa mga entries natin, walang nakasulat na liabilities. Walang entry ng liability. So, dito lang is assets and equity. So, pag nag-issue ka ng shares, of course, tataas yung asset mo since nagde-debit tayo ng cash and nag-credit tayo ng equity, which is the ordinary shares or preference shares. Dito naman sa purchase of treasury share, nag-decrease since nag-credit tayo ng cash and di-decrease din yung equity since nag-purchase tayo ng treasury stock, which is dinideduct siya sa total shareholders equity. So, dito naman sa issuance of treasury share, of course, pag nag-purchase ka, tapos nag-re-issuance ka, babaliktad yung entry mo. According na lang sa mga entry na to at cost, below cost, or above cost. Since dito decrease, increase dito, same din dito sa equity. So, next naman tayo sa cash dividends. So, before muna ako mag-proceed dyan sa cash dividends, stop share ko muna. Balik tayo sa PowerPoint presentation. So, meron tayong overview of retained earnings. So, retained earnings represent the component arising from the retention of assets generated from the profit-directed activities of the corporation. So, yung income summary nga, yung profit or loss, dito siya. Dito siya kinoclose sa retained earnings. So, the basic source is profit. So, ang retained earnings is somehow yan yung net profit or net loss ng mismong company sa sole proprietorship or sa partnership. Pero sa corporation, ang tawag dyan is retained earnings. So, dividends declaration reduce return earnings. Since yung pag-dividends is dinedebit siya sa retained earnings. Ang normal balance ng retained earnings, diba, is credit. So, dinedebit siya sa retained earnings is nababawasan yun, retained earnings natin. So, what is dividends? So, distribution of cash, property, or stocks from unrestricted retained earnings on the basis of all issued and fully paid shares and all subscribed par value shares except treasury shares. So, ito, word na unrestricted retained earnings. So, meron kasi tayong dalawang retained earnings. Yung unrestricted tas restricted. Yung unrestricted is wala pa siyang nakalaan na pera para doon. So, doon yung kinukuha yung dividends. Pag restricted kasi, meron na siyang, yung pera na nandun sa retained earnings natin is nakalaan na siya sa mga projects ng company. Example na lang sa pagtayo ng mga building, sa pagtayo ng isang factory, or merong kahit anong project ng mismong corporation. That's why it's restricted. Hindi siya pwedeng galawin. Since nakalaan na siya para sa isang specific na reason. So, prior period errors. Errors discovered in the current period that are of such significance that the financial statements of one or more prior period errors can no longer be considered to have been reliable at the date of their issue. So, prior period errors, di ba nagkakaroon tayo ng mga somehow pagkakamali sa mga financial statements natin. So, pag may prior period errors tayo, yung mismong statement natin is mali na. So, ito, nade-discovered siya somehow. Itong mga prior period errors na to. Tapos, inu-close natin siya sa retained earnings. So, any increase or decrease of prior period errors can also increase or decrease this retained earnings. So, deficit. A debit balance in the retained earnings account resulting from accumulation of it. Of course, sabi nga kanina, basic source is profit. So, pag nagkaroon tayo ng losses ng tuloy-tuloy, magkakaroon din tayo ng debit balance ng retained earnings, which is called the deficit. So, retained earnings is may be legal, contractual, or voluntary. So, legal, contractual, or voluntary. So, somehow yung sinabi ng batas na restrict niya retained earnings sa gantong specific na reason. Or contractual pag may sinabi ng may resolution na ganito na hindi pwedeng galawin tong retained earnings. Or yung voluntary naman, yung of course, yung mismong board of directors or shareholders yung nag-restrict mismo ng retained earnings natin. So, dividends in general. Shareholders are not guaranteed dividends and dividends not become a liability of corporate until the board of directors has formally declared a dividends distribution. So, ibig sabihin, kapag nag-invest ka sa isang corporation, hindi ibig sabihin nun na pag nag-invest ka, may dividends ka na. Kasi somehow, kahit may malaking retained earnings, tapos may malaking cash yung isang corporation, hindi siya nag-declare ng dividends. Bakit? Kasi yung retained earnings natin, ginagawa nilang restricted. Yun yung somehow doon, yung treat doon. Kahit naman, sabi nga nung professor ko dati, hindi ko na babanggitin yung pangalan. Hindi sila, somehow yung ibang corporation hindi sila nagde-declare ng dividends kasi inaano nila sa restricted kahit wala naman talaga. So yun. So yan, hindi nagagaranti na kapag nag-invest ka sa isang corporation is meron ka ng dividend. It's also a risk na mag-invest ka. So dividends may take the form of cash, property, or additional shares of the corporation. So merong property dividend, cash dividend, or shares dividend. Yung dalawa is cash, tapos share dividend is ma-explain natin after. So Section 43 of the Corporation Code states that dividend should only be declared out of the unrestricted retained earnings. So yan na yung sinabi ko kanina, hindi siya pwede sa restricted. So general rule, any form of dividend declaration should be based on total subscription of the shareholder and not merely on the shares already paid. So, outstanding shares. So, yun yung general rule, pero hindi siya absolute. Pero pag sinabi ng corporation or nasa articles of incorporation na hindi pwedeng isama yung mga hindi pa nababayaran, pwede nilang gawin. So, general lang yan, hindi siya absolute rule. So, meron tayong tatlong date of when it comes to dividends, which is the date of declaration, date of record, and date of payment. So first natin is the date of declaration. The board of directors will adopt the resolution declaring that a dividend is to be paid. Dito sa date of declaration, nagkakaroon na tayo ng liability. So yung resolution na yan is parang contract, nasa papel siya na nagsasabi na on this day, kunyari June 1, 2021, nag-declare ang board of directors usualness ng ganitong dividends. Ng ganitong dividends, ng ganitong yung necessary na mga information nakalagay doon sa resolution na yun. Alam niyo yung pag nakita pag may yung kunyari yung mayor natin, pag walang pasok, whereby ganito, whereby ganyan, ganun yung resolution. So, nandun lahat ng informations about the declaring of the dividends. So, cash dividends solely by board of directors and share dividends necessary of at least 2/3 of the outstanding shareholders. So, itong cash dividends and share dividends, mas madaling i-declare ang cash dividends. Kasi, board of directors lang naman yung sasabi na magde-declare ng ganito, mas madali siya kasi board of directors lang. Dito sa share dividends, since parang kung iisipin mo mas beneficial sa mga shareholders yung share dividends, mahirap siyang i-declare kasi kailangan ng 2/3 of outstanding shareholders. Outstanding shareholders yung may matataas na mga shares or may matataas na pamunuan doon sa mismong corporation natin. So, ayan, necessary yun. Pag wala yung 2/3 yan kahit board of directors, pero yung 2/3 ng outstanding shareholders hindi nag-agree, wala tayong share dividends. So now, paragraph 10 of IFRC 17 provides that liability shall be recognized when the dividend is appropriately authorized and no longer at the discretion of the entity. So, meron tayong dalawang dito, scenario. The declaration of dividends by management of the board of directors is approved by the relevant authority. Sabi ko nga kanina, solely by board of directors, but somehow, may mga times na kailangan ng higher authority or relevant authority when declaring a dividend. O kaya naman, kailangan ng further approval. Sa mga ibang corporations kasi or company kasi, nagkakaroon sila ng parang law dun sa company na yun na pag may declaration of dividends or nagbibigay ng dividends, is kailangan may mga approved ni ganito, ni ganyan, kaya nagtatagal. Kaya meron tayo ditong gap between date of declaration and date of record. So, sa date of record, at least, yun na yung meron na tayong list of shareholders, yung makakatanggap ng dividends mismo. Tapos, no dividend has been by a share after this date. So, ang ibig sabihin dun sa mga investor dated ex-dividend. So, bakit may gap siya? Sometimes kasi parehas lang yung date of declaration and date of record. So, bakit may gap siya? Kasi minsan, yung dividends natin is nababago. Nagbabago siya. Kaya nga dito sa date of record, dito nilalagay na yung list of shareholders. Kasi somehow, meron tayong, example na lang dito, may investor. Pag nag-invest siya in this gap of date of declaration and date of record, meron pa siyang makukuha na dividends. O, di ba, swerte niya? Somehow kasi ganun. Pero pagkatapos na, wala na siyang makukuhang dividends. So, may gap siya. Pero, minsan yung declaration and record is parehas lang. So, date of payment. Of course, pag date of payment, settles liability na. Wala nang liability mismong corporation. So, cash dividends. So, sabi ko nga, madali lang i-issue ang cash dividends kasi board of directors lang yung kailangan. Kaya majority dividends is cash dividends yung ini-issue nila. So, appropriate amount of retained earnings and necessary amount of cash. So, dito sa appropriate amount of retained earnings and necessary, sometimes kasi kahit may appropriate amount of retained earnings ka, pero wala ka namang sufficient cash, paano ka magbibigay ng cash dividend? Specifically cash yun. Kung wala kang cash, hindi ka pwedeng magbigay ng cash dividends kasi nga wala kang necessary amount of cash. So many corporations, especially new firms in growth industry, finance or expansion from assets generated to pay out small cash dividends or not at all. Especially new firms. So yung mga bagong firms lang na nagkaroon ng corporation, of course, ang ipa-prioritize nila is yung expansion operation nila. So, sa magandang pagkakataon, wala kang aasahan na dividends sa kanila. Meron konti, pero small lang daw. Napakaliit. So, reported as current liabilities. So, cash dividends payable. Kasi ang entry niyan is debit to return earnings and credit to cash dividends payable. Affects only the accounts within the shareholders. So, share dividends, wala yung hindi yan nag-i-involve ng any asset or liabilities. So, kapag nag-declare ka ng share dividends, ang nangyayari is debit to retained earnings and credit to share distributable or stock dividends payable. So, yung mismong yun, since shareholders equity lang naman yung affected dun sa entry na yun, technically remains unchanged. Thus, no change their percentage interest in the corporation although total outstanding shares have increased. So, yung percentage interest niya, wala. Pero outstanding shares daw niya is increased. Sa share dividend, meron tayong small share dividends at large share dividends. So, small share dividends is less than 20% of the previously outstanding shares. These share dividends are recorded by transferring from retained earnings to share capital, the fair market value of the additional shares to be issued. In cases when the fair market value is lower than the par or stated value, the par or stated value will be the basis of recording. So, dito sa small share dividends, may pagkakaiba siya sa large share dividend. Since dito, nire-record natin yung dividend sa fair market value. So, in cases daw na lower daw yung fair market value niya, yung par stated value ang magiging basis ng recording natin. Kasi nga, di ba, yung par stated value, yung pinaka-minimum amount na pwede mong ibigay dun sa shares natin. Sa large share dividend naman, share issue is 20% or more of the previously outstanding shares such that the effect is to reduce materially the market value per share. Then only par or stated value is credited to ordinary shares with corresponding debit to retained earnings. Ito naman, wala tayong pakialam sa any fair market value or any value na meron ang isang shares natin. Ang basis of recording natin is yung mismong par value or stated value ng mismong share. So, yun lang. Wait. So, recorded a par value. Or, stop ko muna. Wait lang, I need just 10 minutes. 10 minutes lang to, promise. May klase ba yung iba dyan? Sabihin nyo lang baka kasi may klase kayo. Ano tayo ng 10 minutes na lang to, promise. So, meron tayong cash dividends on April 1, 2021, the Board of Directors of Monteverde Corporation declared 30 per share to shareholders of record as April 15, 2021 for distribution on May 1, 2021. The shareholders' equity of Monteverde Company as April 1, 2021. So dito, ito yung total shareholders' equity na. So pag record ng dividends, sabi dun lang sa mga dividends is outstanding share lang. So, i-compute pa natin yung total outstanding shares niya, which is yung shares issued. So, 475,000 divided by 50 is 9,500 shares. Shares subscribed is 110,000 divided by 50 is 2,200. Tapos, ililas natin yung treasury shares na 1,500. Ngayon, yung total outstanding shares natin is 10,002. So, outstanding share natin, sinasabi niya, dividends per share natin is 30 pesos. So, multiply natin yung outstanding shares. Kukuha natin yung 306,000 pesos. So, yan yung dividends natin, cash dividends. So, date of declaration, April 1. Retained earnings debit and credit to cash dividends payable, 306. Dito naman sa date of record, no entry. So, mapapansin nyo dito yung date of record. Kahit nasabi nyo yung date of record, wala tayong entry. Bakit? Kasi hindi naman nabago yung declaration, date of declaration, yung mismong dividends natin. So, pag may nabago dyan, kunyari, in that span of time, may investors na bago, tapos bumili sila ng shares. So, yun. Pwedeng mabago yan. Pwedeng mabago yung amount mismo. Pero, walang nangyari pagbabago in that gap ng time. So, wala na tayong entries. Wala na tayong babaguhin dito. So, ito. So, sa date of payment, parehas lang na 306,000 pesos. So, next. Small share dividends. The De Los Santos Incorporation Board of Directors vote on June 1 to declare 10% shares distributable on July 1 to shareholders of record as of June 15. On June 1, De Los Santos has 500,000 shares of 10 par ordinary shares authorized. 55,000 shares are issued and 5,000 shares are held as treasury stock. De Los Santos stock is selling for 45 pesos per share on June 1. So, ito, yung compute natin yung outstanding shares, which is 50,000. Nakuha natin yun by 55,000. Less natin treasury stock na 5,000 shares. Ito. Tapos, ito. Which is 50,000. Tapos, 10% down ng share na yun is gagawin natin dividends. So, date of declaration, retained earnings. Sabi nga kanina, small share dividends. Ang basis of recording natin is yung stock o yung fair market value or market price sa market. So, 5,000 yung additional shares times 45 na selling price, which is the amount of 25,000. Tapos yung share distributable na 50,000 and meron tayong share premium na 175,000 pesos. So dito wala tayo ulit entry since walang nabago sa pag-compute ng ordinary shares ng date of payment. Ayan. Yan, issuance ng share dividends. So next tayo dito sa large share of dividends, which bakit siya naging large kasi 45% share ng dividend daw is distributable to shareholders of record as of December 1. Valarian's articles authorized the issuance of 200,000 shares of 40 par ordinary shares. As of November 1, 50,000 ordinary shares are issued and outstanding. The market price of Valarina stock on is 85 per share. So, outstanding share na 50,000 multiplied by 45%. So, ang additional share natin is 22,500 shares. So, yan natin siya, i-recognize natin siya at par. Sabi nga kanina, large share dividends ay ini-ignore natin mismo yung mga ibang value. And ang concern lang natin is yung mismong par value ng large share dividends. So dito, sa date of declaration, retained earnings na 900,000, share distributable 900. Ayan. Date of record, no entry since wala namang kababago. Date of payment, debit to share distributable and credit to ordinary shares. So, eto na. So, dito na tayo sa second to the last ng discussion, which is the summary of the effects of dividends. So, pag meron tayong declaration of cash dividends, retained earnings natin nag-decrease. Ordinary shares wala nangyayari, pati sa share premium. And nag-decrease din yung total shareholders equity natin. Yung since cash dividends payable is a current liability, nag-i-increase siya, asset, wala. Tapos, shares outstanding, wala din. So, sa payment of cash dividends, so wala nang nangyayari dito. Since ang naman is asset and liabilities, pareho nag-decrease. So, dito sa declaration and distribution of small share dividends and large share dividends, when it comes to retained earnings, of course, nag-decrease siya. Since fair market value of shares, par stated value of shares. Tapos, ordinary shares, increase din. Tapos, nag-increase. Of course, kasi may pagbibigay ng shares, di nadadagdagan yung ordinary shares mo. The share premium, may increase din in excess of par or stated value. Dito naman, since na-record natin siya ng par sa large share dividends, wala tayong effect. Same with total shareholders equity, total liabilities, and total assets. Dito sa shares outstanding, nag-i-increase siya and increase. Since share ang binibigay natin, nadadagdagan din yung shares ng shareholders. So, balik tayo sa dito sa PowerPoint. Ito na yung last. Yung example ng statement of retained earnings. Itong statement of retained earnings naalala nyo. Ito yung pagbabago sa owner's equity sa sole proprietorship. So, itong retained earnings may dalawa, appropriated or unappropriated. So, appropriate. So, itong appropriated, this section presents the beginning balance of retained earnings, appropriated account, any addition or deductions during the period, and ending balance. So, dito sa unappropriated naman, dito yung mga prior periods na nangyari, net income, mga dividends, and yung mga appropriated and unappropriated account and the ending balances. So, retained earnings. Next naman is shareholders' equity. Dito sa statement of shareholders' equity or stockholders' equity, ito yung summary. Ito yung detailed na information ng stockholders equity sa financial position. Ito yung detail niyan. Sa mga corporation, nagbibigay sila ng another page for this para makita yung mga pagbabago pagbabago sa beginning balance and sa ending balances sa buong taon ng operation. So, meron tayong ditong preferred stock, common stock, Class B common stock, additional paid-in, retained earnings, treasury, accumulated other comprehensive income, non-controlling interest and subsidiaries. Itong non-controlling interest and subsidiaries, ma-encounter nyo siya pag nasa advanced accounting na kayo. So, yan. Ito yung example niya. So, that's end of my presentation for today. So, stop share ko na siya. So, any questions? Any questions or kahit anong clarifications? Or gusto niya gusto niyang mag-disagree. So, thank you for participation, RB and Sheila May. Yan. Wala yung dalawang kasama. So, good luck sa exam niyo bukas. And sana may natutunan